Hello and welcome back, Tradie Business School, the podcast where we love to have conversations that will help you to run your trades or contracting business more profitably and enjoyably. I am joined by Barry Magliotti. How are you today?
Fantastic, Miranda. I've got a confession to make, and nobody else will know this but us, but this is actually our second take of this podcast. And that's never happened. I don't know how many episodes we've done. We've done more than 50, and that's never happened. We got halfway through, and I was like, Miranda, can we start again? I'm like day 5 of the vid. I'm feeling pretty good within my body, but I was just noticing partway through that podcast that my brain is not working like it usually is. But this is our second take. We're going to nail it. I'm feeling good. And we're speaking about goals.
You know what? Even if we don't, I'm sure that our listeners will stick with us. I know that, and just the core is there. We're going to be talking about setting your goals, how to set goals in your business that you actually want to achieve, why we fail to follow through on goals, even when we think we're committed, setting goals that inspire you, the trap of giving up too early, how long is long enough for goals, what makes a goal realistic, and maybe we touch a little bit on the structure of goal setting. Geez, that sounds fascinating, but it is worth listening to. Barry, let's just start right at the top. Why does goal setting matter?
Yeah, well, this is awesome. And if you've been tuning in, you'll know this is part of a mini-series we're doing as part of the Tradie Business School podcast based on my first book, The Path to Freedom. And so we discussed vision already, mission and values. If you haven't listened to those episodes yet, absolutely do it for this one because they do lead on from the last. I guess it's like this, Marina, like nobody plans to fail, I think. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning like, you know what? I'm going to go and suck as bad as I can today. I'm just going to like crash my life, crash my business, crash my relationship. I think nobody plans to fail. They just simply fail to plan. And this is where goal setting can become such a powerful tool. And it's something that, man, there's hundreds, if not thousands of books written on it. Everyone's got their different take on it. I believe that my take, our take here is a little bit different, which we alluded to on one of the previous episodes, and we'll talk a lot more now. But I guess, goal setting gives us the ability to measure the impact of our activities, right? Now, there's a lot of things that can help measure that impact: our bank accounts, our health, our emotional well-being, the relationships, the environment that we have ourselves in. But goal setting gives us the possibility and opportunity to be inspired by something we haven't yet achieved. And what I like about that is because if we were already the person capable of achieving that goal, or if there was nothing standing in the way of achieving that goal, we would already have it. So therefore, for us to set a goal that is something different than what we have right now, we must become somebody different than what we are right now, and therefore creates the opportunity for growth. And I guess, quite simply put, I believe we're either green or growing, or we're ripe and rotting. I believe that in life, the opportunity we have is for growth, more so than to achieve some perceived destination in the future.
I love what you just said then, Barry, about to set a goal, we must become somebody else to achieve that. This is one of the things I notice so many people that don't achieve goals do is they set the goal and then continue to do the same thing they've always done and wonder why later they don't achieve the goal.
Yeah.
So you've got to do the things that are going to help you achieve that goal. You must step into being the person that has achieved that goal before you've achieved it.
Yeah, it reminds me of a model I learned very early on when I was studying neuro-linguistic programming, and they taught me this model around be, do, have. And essentially what they said is that, okay, work out what you want to have, said goal, work out what you need to do to have that goal. And then once you work out what you have to do, meaning the activities or the steps you must take, then it's a matter of, well, who do I need to be? i.e., what are the beliefs? What are the values I need to carry within myself to be somebody who's accountable to doing the thing that's going to allow me to have what I want to have? Now, perfect example, I want to buy a home, right? I need to have $100,000 for a deposit for this home, right? So what I want is a home. What do I have to do? Well, I have to find a home that I want to buy, right? I have to do my research, maybe hire a broker, blah, 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 blah. But I also have to save for that deposit. So therefore, I have to be putting money away regularly to be able to have that $100,000 to buy that home. Now, who do I need to be? Well, I need to be somebody that values having that home for myself, values long-term wealth creation over immediate gratification, i.e. spending my money on alcohol, on cigarettes, on Netflix, on more clothes or vehicles or toys or stuff that I don't need, right? So there has to be a behavioral change in that to achieve that. Now, we're not going to teach you the fundamentals of SMART goals here, right? There's enough books and enough other people done them. I guess I would love us to teach you a different perspective on goal achievement, because it's something that I failed with for a long time around. I remember I have this distinct memory of looking at these A3 pages, right? Pages and pages of goals. And I was like, holy shit, this is overwhelming, and I'm not achieving any of them. And I realized that every single goal that I had on those multiple pages came down to two things. One was having more money, and two was having more time. So I was like, what if I put all these things aside and I focus on increasing my net worth and my cash flow, and I increase on having more time, which presupposes if I had more money and had more time, I could achieve the said goals that I wanted to have. Now, that was at that point in time. I didn't have goals around health or around my relationships. But that's where I guess I see that a lot of people overcomplicate things, Miranda, is that they either set way too many goals, right, before they condition themselves to be somebody that's a goal achiever, right? Or they set unrealistic goals that are so big and so far out of reach that earned 50 grand last year, and then they set a goal this year to earn 10 million. You're setting yourself up for failure from the beginning.
Yeah, I often talk to people about goal setting. I like to use a rubber band analogy. It's like, set a goal and you want to pull this rubber band and you want to stretch it all the way out till it's about to snap, but then come back in. You don't want you've got to stretch yourself a little bit with goal setting, because you are moving from where you are now to where you are not, to a place that you would like to be. Yet if that gap is so big that, one, you're so stretched, there are too many goals, it's impossible to get there in terms of your time and or resource to be able to get there, or the cognitive gap, meaning the gap in your thinking between where you are now and where you would like to be is so big, your subconscious just goes, well, I can start on that tomorrow. Or, are you kidding me? I'm not going to even start. And then in steps things like, procrastination, avoidance, elegant excuse making, whatever those things might be, that masters of the human condition. And so we set ourselves up for failure from the beginning. So it's about being realistic with your goals. And really stepping in with some simplicity. Honestly, cross half of them off and start by setting yourself a realistic goal that you can achieve, that you know is stretching you, and build the muscle around successful goal achievement before you start getting really ambitious.
Yeah, I remember a mentor of mine, Miranda. This guy was a billionaire, owned tons of car lots and car dealerships in Australia. And I remember one time I was having a meeting in his office, and he's like, Barry, he's like, the goal should never be the variable. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, I noticed that you have this habit of, like, you set these goals and you don't quite achieve them, so you change the goal, right? You stretch it out further when you haven't even yet achieved it. He said, you're not building that relationship with yourself that you will follow through and achieve what you set out to. He said, you're building a relationship to yourself that you'll always create variables for your inability to see something through. He said, the variable should be the amount of energy, effort, and time you're willing to put in to achieve your goal. And I was like, wow, like, I haven't been committed enough to my goals. I haven't been structuring my days and my weeks in such a way that allowed me enough time and resource to actually achieve my goals. And I was living under this kind of false illusion that I was moving forwards, but really I was actually creating bigger problems for myself. And that was the time that I stripped everything back. I worked out and really took some time to go, are my goals my goals? Are they goals that are actually meaningful for me that I want to achieve? And are they like a heck yes? And anything else I scrapped off, which is what you just said, Miranda, like cut away all those things that didn't look like the outcome I wanted to achieve. And I doubled down my effort. And I used a process that I want to touch on at the end of this webinar, live to help us to kind of achieve that, because I see that achieving goals are actually not that difficult from where I'm sitting now. But 10 years ago, man, I would have loved to have just ticked off one of the things that I had on my list.
Mm-hmm. It's so common to start the week or the month or the quarter or the year with a big list of these big things we want to achieve, especially at the beginning of a calendar year when we're filled with this new shiny energy. Oh, it's a new year and it's a clean slate, and we're filled with the hope and excitement, and it's going to be different this year. That's the beginning of the year goal setting kind of cycle we often get into, but goal setting applies to any stage of the year. And within Tradie Business School, we follow it's not unique system, but it is proven of 90-day goal setting. Very, very important. And one of the key things that we make sure we focus on is making sure that people really do start with the end in mind, set themselves up for success, but it's a stretch, that their goals are realistic, and that they really start to break down tangibly what's required from them. What effort, what time is going to be required that works in alignment, alongside their operational commitments to run their business. What resources are going to be required, people, cash, anything like that, other resources, information, and really what it's going to take emotionally and psychologically to get there. What's the shift in the being that's required to get there? Because you're going to be having to be a person that's potentially going to show up with consistency and discipline and commitment, rather than, I'm just kind of interested in this goal. I'm really committed to doing this. So there's got to be a bit of grr and grit, and I'm going to get through this thing, and I'm going to keep plodding even when shit gets tough. Those are the being elements of goal setting that we really talk about.
It's funny you mentioned that, because one thing I want to touch on is that whole giving up too early, or giving up too often. Years ago, I had this realization, Miranda, that if I never followed through on my word, not only was I essentially lying to others, but I was conditioning my own mind to believe that I was full of shit. So on the flip side of that, the powerful realization was that I realized that if I followed through on the things that I told people I was going to do for them, I was conditioning myself both consciously and unconsciously that I'm a man of my word, meaning that I would build this consistency that a goal or anything that I said that I would do. And a crazy thing happened is I started setting goals, and there was this just complete understanding and confidence that I was going to achieve that. Now, whether or not I achieved that in the somewhat unrealistic time frame, I was definitely hard on myself many times to put these unrealistic time frames, but I knew that if I didn't give up, because I'd taken the time to work out what goal I wanted and that it was important enough to me, I'd eventually get there. And it pulled a lot of stress off me, where it's like, I wanted to achieve all these great things in 1 year or in 6 months or in 1 month. I look back now, like 10 years is not a lot of time. Like 10 years flies by like that. So if you take the time to work out what goals you want, why they're really important to you, and you commit to stepping towards them every single day, no matter what, you'll eventually get there. And man, it feels good when you can get there and look back and see who you've become in that process.
I had a client the other day who was had a goal, a financial goal, to have a certain amount in his profit account, and he was doing that every week. And he'd set the goal, and then he stopped. He didn't even think about the goal anymore, but he set up the weekly task of putting X number of dollars every single week into this account without looking at it. I'm going to do my weekly allocations, and this links into profit first accounting that you've probably heard us talk about on other podcasts. And if you haven't, go and look up an episode, you'll find definitely worth listening to. And he said to me, he got this big grin on his face. He goes, Miranda, I opened up my account the other day, and I'd goal of my profit target for the quarter. I didn't even know how I did it. And then he got this big grin on his face and he's like, well, I kind of did it every week. But it's all he did. He didn't even think about the goal after that. He set himself up for the success and consistently just did the one thing he needed to do. So that's all it was. It was a goal on the account, set himself up with the habit and consistently did the thing without even really thinking about it anymore. At the end, lo and behold, he had this amount and he just had this big grin on his face. It was beautiful. And that's as simple as it is. Yet so many people fail.
Yeah, I want to, before we end the episode off, I don't want us to go too much in the depth of the how. Like if you want, as we share with the other episodes in this mini series, if you want the step-by-step how, the process of how to achieve what we're talking about here, get a copy of my book, The Path to Freedom, either from Amazon. Also, if you join Trades and General Contractors Global group on Facebook, it's completely free. In the About Us section on that, you'll see there's a link to get a free PDF copy as well, so you can get that for free without even paying you money. But in that book, after every single chapter, there is an SOP, a step-by-step of how to follow what's required to achieve, your vision statement, your mission statement, your values, your goal setting in this case. But the thing that I want to leave people with to ponder on is think about how an SOP works, right? Or a safe operating procedure. A safe operating procedure or a system in your business works because it's a series of steps that anybody can follow to get to an outcome, right? The outcome is how to reconcile your books, how to complete a quote, how to chase up overdue debt, whatever the case may be, right? And if that SOP is written the right way in the right order, doesn't matter whether you or I follow it, Miranda, you get to the outcome. And the game changer for me was when I realized that goal setting was the same. If I understood what the outcome was, i.e. my goal, and I just spent some time reverse engineering that into steps, all I had to do is get up every day and take one step towards that goal and I was going to get there. What was happening though years ago when I wasn't achieving my goals is that I thought that setting goals was enough, right? Yet I wasn't putting in time or consistent effort or even breaking the goal down into understanding, well, what is it? Why is it important? And what are the steps that I must take? And now goal setting's become second nature to where anything that gets written down, there's a process that goes through and it gets achieved.
I almost think the title goal setting is a little bit misleading in a way, that it's going to be the thing that's going to help you achieve the goal. Got to set the goal. Because goal setting is only one small part of it. Goal setting is, well, I'm going to set this target, yet it is the planning and the steps and the showing up that will get you there. So once the goal's set, you can put the goal aside. You set the goal, then you break it down into the series of steps that will get you there. Then that becomes the system that will get you that outcome. The goal almost, you can just park aside. It's almost irrelevant from that point onwards, as long as you show up and do the steps. So goal setting is only one small part of goal achievement. It is the steps that go through it. Before we continue, I'm just going to pick you up on one tiny little thing, Barry, because you did say at the beginning that your brain was a bit funny. You said SOP, safe operating procedure. Let's just for the listeners out there, standard operating procedure. There we go, standard operating procedure. Before you're like, but Barry said it was a safe operating procedure.
Honestly, my brain is all over the place. It's okay. Interesting to note.
No, it's all good. So safe, oh God, now I'm saying it, standard operating procedure, SOP system, really. It's a fancy name for a system, series of steps that will help you achieve one outcome. And this is what goal setting, goal achievement is about, is a system to achieve a goal, which involves the steps. So if you want to find out more, if you want to follow the steps to achieve your goals, then download the book, jump in the free Facebook group. So many free resources, things that you can tap into and start making goal achievement part of your year. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Barry, did you have any parting comments?
No, that's it for me. I'm so stoked we got through it, Miranda.
Thanks so much for joining, everybody. Have an amazing day. See you on the next episode. Bye-bye.